The humans are nothing but a blip, one of the alien commanders scoffed. His elongated fingers flicked through a holographic projection of Earth, zooming in on various human technologies, fighter jets, nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles. Primitive toys, he sneered, turning to the council members seated in a circle around him. The others nodded in agreement. Their entire history spans less than a few millennia. It's astonishing they've even reached space. But look at their biology, so fragile, so inefficient. Another alien, tall and thin with an exoskeletal frame, tapped a clawed finger on the projection showing human DNA. Their cells degrade with time, they are vulnerable to disease, and their muscular strength is pitiful. It's amazing they've survived this long. Their reliance on technology, another alien chimed in, is their greatest weakness. Remove it, and they are defenseless. A murmur of agreement echoed around the room. There was an aura of unshakable certainty, their words heavy with disdain. To them, humans were insignificant, a minor species that stumbled its way into the galaxy, still clinging to archaic concepts like war and territorial disputes. One of the strategists, however, remained silent. His multifaceted eyes shifted between the others, but his mind lingered on the few reports they had received. We have underestimated species before, he finally said, his voice low but clear. The others turned to him, curiosity replacing their casual arrogance. The GRAL. The Vorthax. They were smaller, weaker, and yet they cost us greatly. The commander waved a dismissive hand, cutting through the tension. The GRAL and Vorthax were anomalies. Statistical outliers. The humans are no different from the hundreds of other civilizations we've brought to their knees. A species so dependent on its frail bodies and clumsy machinery poses no threat to us. And their culture, the exoskeletal one added with a smirk, a fascination with violence and conflict, driven by emotion. Their wars are petty, fought over resources, beliefs, not survival. We have transcended such things long ago. Their very nature dooms them to fail. The strategist frowned. Their unpredictability is a factor. They may be disorganized, but that makes them difficult to control. A low hiss rippled through the group, followed by laughter. Unpredictable? Or simply chaotic? You give them too much credit. Chaos can be dangerous, the strategist countered. Their history is littered with examples of resilience. Even in the face of annihilation, they push forward. Their resilience is desperation, the commander cut in, his voice sharp. There is no strategy, no logic behind their actions. It's a species-wide flailing, grasping at survival. Another alien, this one younger, leaned forward, eyes glinting with anticipation. The humans won't be different from the others. We'll strike, and they'll crumble. The strategist's gaze hardened, but he said nothing. Deep inside, something gnawed at him, a feeling he couldn't quite place, a question left unanswered. But the others were already moving on, planning the invasion, dissecting humanity as if they were prey already within their grasp. You'll see, the commander said as he turned back to the projection of Earth. By the end of this campaign, they will beg for mercy. And we will grant none. Whatever they throw at us, General O'Neill's voice cut through the dimly lit war room, we've seen worse. The room was silent, but the air was thick with tension. Around the table sat the best minds Earth had to offer, strategists, scientists, and military leaders. All eyes were on the holographic display showing the alien fleet moving toward Earth. The ships looked impossibly advanced, sleek, and brimming with unknown technologies. To most, it would seem like humanity's end. But not to them. They think we're weak because we don't have their tech, O'Neill continued, his hands gripping the edge of the table. But strength isn't just about weapons. It's about what we've been through. He paused, glancing at the historical images flickering on the screen, images of shattered cities and devastated landscapes, reminders of the wars and catastrophes that had shaped humanity. We survived nuclear devastation during the Cold War, outlasted pandemics, rebuilt after the oceans rose. And we didn't just survive, we thrived. Every time we were pushed to the brink, we adapted. One of the younger strategists nodded, eyes hard. They don't understand what desperation does to a species. They've lived in controlled environments, with advanced systems and biological enhancements. They don't know what it's like to fight when everything is against you. And that's our advantage, O'Neill said, pacing now. They think in straight lines. They're logical, predictable. But humans? We're chaos incarnate. Another strategist chimed in, leaning forward. We've always found ways to turn the tide when it seems impossible. Guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, psychological warfare, they won't expect any of it. There was a murmur of agreement as the room filled with memories of humanity's brutal yet ingenious methods of survival. The Viet Cong used tunnels against an army far more advanced. The Afghan rebels used mountains. We'll use whatever it takes, someone muttered. O'Neill nodded. They're expecting a traditional war. They think we'll meet them head-on, using whatever pitiful defenses we have. But that's not how we fight. When they invade, they won't be fighting an army, they'll be fighting every single human being on this planet. The hologram shifted, showing images of improvised weapons, of guerrilla fighters blending into the environment, of sabotage and ambush. We've fought for resources, for territory, for survival. We've faced extinction over and over again, and we've always clawed our way back. A silence settled over the room, but it wasn't one of fear. It was the quiet of resolve, of men and women who had seen the edge of the abyss and knew exactly how to survive standing on it. They think we're soft, O'Neill said, his voice low but steady. They think because we don't have their biotech or their shiny ships, we'll fall like all the others. But they haven't fought us before. He glanced at the psychologist sitting at the end of the table. Tell them. Dr. Reeves, the psychologist, stood and addressed the room. These aliens may be superior in terms of technology, but they don't understand fear, not the kind we do. They've never had to deal with species like us, ones that fight with every breath, with nothing to lose. O'Neill crossed his arms, eyes narrowing. We don't just fight wars with bullets. We fight them with minds. And when they see what we're capable of, the lengths we're willing to go to survive, they'll realize they've made a grave mistake. The room was silent again, but this time the tension had shifted. It wasn't fear anymore, it was anticipation. They were ready, not just for battle, but for the psychological war they were about to unleash. They've never seen what humans can do when we're cornered, O'Neill said. But they will. The alien ships descended on the human colony with precision, their sleek forms cutting through the atmosphere. On board, the alien commander watched the operation unfold, confident in the simplicity of the task. Prepare for an efficient sweep, he ordered. His soldiers moved with calculated ease, fully expecting minimal resistance. When they landed, it was quiet. Too quiet. The streets of the colony seemed deserted, abandoned. The commander narrowed his eyes. Where were the humans? Suddenly, a series of explosions erupted from the surrounding buildings. Alien soldiers were thrown off their feet, chaos spreading through their ranks. Before they could regroup, shadows moved in, humans, using the terrain to their advantage, slipping in and out of view, firing from hidden positions. It wasn't a direct confrontation, it was an ambush, designed to disorient and dismantle. Regroup, the commander barked, but his voice was lost in the din of gunfire and explosions. His soldiers scrambled, struggling to get a clear shot at the humans. The humans moved too quickly, never staying in one place long enough for the aliens to react. They're targeting our blind spots, one of the alien lieutenants shouted over the comms. The humans had studied their attack patterns, exploiting every weakness. The commander watched as his soldiers fell into disarray, their advanced weapons useless in the face of such erratic tactics. The humans didn't fight in lines or waves. They fought like cornered animals, vicious, unpredictable, relentless. They're hacking our comms, another lieutenant's voice crackled through, distorted. Suddenly, their communication systems went dark, leaving the alien soldiers even more isolated, disoriented. Panic set in as they lost contact with each other. The commander clenched his jaw, his mind racing. This wasn't the resistance they had expected. These humans were using every advantage they could find, shutting down systems, turning the environment into a battlefield that suited them. It was guerrilla warfare at its finest, and the aliens had never faced anything like it. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden surge of firepower from the rooftops. The humans had taken the high ground, picking off alien soldiers one by one. The aliens tried to regroup, but every attempt was met with yet another trap, a building collapsing in a controlled detonation, an alleyway filled with fire, their advanced tech malfunctioning at every turn. The commander saw one of his units pinned down by a series of rapid blitz attacks. The humans struck quickly, disappeared, and then struck again from another angle. It was a psychological game, and it was working. Alien soldiers, trained for straightforward combat, were beginning to panic. "They're forcing us to overextend," the commander realized, his voice tight. "Pull back. Pull back now." But it was too late. The humans had anticipated this move. As the alien forces retreated, they fell into a final trap, a maze of streets wired with explosives and booby traps. Panic turned into chaos as alien soldiers were cut down in droves, their highly coordinated formations shattered by the humans' unpredictable strategy. From the command ship, the alien commander watched in horror. His superior technology, his advanced tactics, they were useless against this madness. These humans didn't fight with order, they fought with pure survival instinct, and it was devastating. "They've adapted," he whispered to himself, the words tasting bitter in his mouth. His forces were crumbling, overwhelmed by creatures he had dismissed as weak, fragile. But now, it was the aliens who were fragile. Their minds, conditioned to expect superiority, were cracking under the relentless pressure of human ingenuity. "We're losing them," a lieutenant muttered, his voice laced with disbelief. Alien casualties mounted by the second, while the humans, though taking losses of their own, kept coming, never giving the aliens a chance to breathe. The commander's eyes darkened. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a lesson, one he hadn't been prepared for. The humans weren't prey. They were predators, apex predators, and they had just begun their hunt. "They're not like any species we've encountered before," the alien scientist muttered, eyes wide as she stared at the data. Her hands trembled slightly as she manipulated the holographic display, pulling up charts, historical records, and biological scans. "Their ability to adapt, it's unparalleled." The commander leaned in, frowning. "They're just a primitive race. What are we missing?" The scientist shook her head, her voice strained with disbelief. "It's not about their technology or even their numbers. It's their entire evolutionary makeup. They're born from chaos. Conflict is their natural state." She brought up a series of images, human wars, revolutions, catastrophic events from Earth's history. "Look at this," she said, pointing to footage of ancient battles, modern warfare, global disasters. "Every time they've been pushed to the brink, they haven't just survived. They've thrived. It's ingrained in them. Their entire history is built on adaptation through conflict." The commander watched the scenes with a growing sense of unease. "But why? Why haven't they destroyed themselves?" "They almost have," the scientist replied, eyes narrowing. "But every time, they've learned. They've evolved. The weak are weeded out, the strong rise. They don't just adapt to new threats, they exploit them. They find ways to turn danger into opportunity." The images shifted again, this time showing humans in harsh environments, deserts, frozen wastelands, war zones. This is where they were shaped. Their world was unforgiving. Only the most ruthless, the most resourceful, survived. That's why their tactics seem so erratic to us. We think they're disorganized, but it's controlled chaos. It's designed to disrupt, to dismantle us piece by piece. The commander felt a chill run down his spine. It goes against everything we've been taught. Order and precision are supposed to win wars. The scientist's eyes flickered toward him. Not against them. Humans thrive in disorder. They've evolved in it. We thought they were fragile because of their biology, but their real strength is in their minds. Their resilience is psychological. As she spoke, alarms blared through the ship. Another human attack. They're playing with us, the commander muttered, pacing now. Striking, retreating, baiting us into traps. Every time we think we have them, they slip away. The scientist nodded. It's psychological warfare. They're exploiting our own rigidity, our reliance on structure. They've studied us, and they know how to push our limits. They know we expect direct confrontation, and they're giving us the opposite. The commander's hands clenched into fists. What can we do? The scientist hesitated. I don't know if we can stop them. He turned on her, eyes blazing. We are the superior race. We've conquered hundreds of worlds. She met his gaze, unflinching. But none like this. The humans aren't just another civilization. They're predators, and they've been predators far longer than we realized. She switched the hologram to a new display, showing human brain scans, highlighting areas of aggression and strategy. Their brains are wired for survival at any cost. It's not brute strength or advanced technology that makes them dangerous, it's their adaptability, their ability to learn from every encounter. A stillness settled over the room as the weight of her words sank in. Their unpredictability, she continued, her voice soft but heavy, is what makes them apex predators. They don't fight to win a single battle. They fight to outlast, to wear down their enemies over time. They use deception, misdirection, even fear. We've already seen it. Our soldiers are losing morale, breaking under the stress. The commander stared at the screen, his confidence eroding with each passing second. We underestimated them. The scientist's voice was barely a whisper now. We saw them as prey, but they've been hunting us from the start. We just didn't realize it. The commander's gaze darkened. And now? Now, she said, pulling up one last piece of data, footage of human troops silently advancing, shadows in the night, they'll finish the hunt. The commander felt it in his bones, the shift, the terrifying revelation that they weren't facing a primitive race after all. They were facing something far worse, something that thrived on the very chaos they had unleashed. And for the first time, he wasn't sure they could win. The alien fleet hung in Earth's orbit, battered but not broken. On board the command ship, the alien leader stared at the tactical display, his once calm demeanor replaced with a grim resolve. They had underestimated the humans from the beginning, but now they would correct that mistake. This would be their final push, their last chance to crush the species before them. Launch the strike, he ordered. His voice was firm, but underneath, there was something new, doubt. The attack began swiftly, with waves of alien ships descending on Earth's defenses. But this time, the humans were waiting. It wasn't like their previous encounters. No more hit-and-run tactics, no more retreating into the shadows. This time, humanity had united, launching a coordinated counterattack with precision that stunned the alien forces. All across the planet, human forces moved in perfect sync. Their strategies were brutal, precise. Ground forces and aerial assaults worked in tandem, exploiting every weakness the aliens had shown in the previous skirmishes. The skies were filled with fire, explosions lighting up the night as humans struck back with a ferocity that sent shockwaves through the alien command. But the real threat wasn't on the surface. Inside the alien ships, alarms blared. Human infiltration teams had slipped past their defenses. The humans, once again, had adapted. They'd learned the weaknesses in the aliens' technology, exploited the cracks in their systems. Elite squads of human soldiers moved through the corridors of the ships like phantoms, hacking into vital systems, disabling weapons, and planting explosives at key points. The alien superior technology was being turned against them. They've boarded the command vessel, a lieutenant shouted, panic creeping into his voice. The alien leader stood frozen, watching as his once impenetrable fleet crumbled from within. He couldn't comprehend it. How had this happened? They had planned for everything, anticipated every scenario. And yet, here they were, losing to a species they had considered primitive. The humans didn't fight like any other species. They didn't follow the rules. And now, their ships, their strongholds, their fleet, everything was being dismantled piece by piece. "They've studied us better than we studied them," the alien leader whispered. "They turned our own tactics against us." A tremor ran through the ship as another explosion rocked the hull. Reports of human teams taking control of key systems flooded in. The battle was no longer in their control. It was over. They had lost. The leader watched as the tactical display blinked with red warnings, ships going offline one by one. He clenched his fists, the weight of the realization crashing down on him. Humans weren't prey. They were hunters, the most dangerous kind, ones who never stopped adapting, learning, evolving. A message came through the comms. It was from the human commander. The alien leader listened, heart sinking as the cold, calm voice of the human spoke. "You forgot the first rule of survival: never underestimate your prey." The words cut through him like a blade. He had always believed his kind were the apex predators of the galaxy, that their strength, their technology, their superiority would see them through any conflict. But now, staring at the collapse of his forces, he understood. They had never faced anything like humans. Humans weren't just survivors. They were conquerors, masters of adaptation and war. They fought with an edge that no other species had. They didn't just fight to win battles, they fought to dominate, to destroy the enemy's very will to resist. Another explosion tore through the ship. The alien leader sank into his chair, defeated. They had come to Earth believing it would be an easy conquest, another victory in their long list of triumphs. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous. "Retreat," he muttered, the word burning in his throat. Retreat and regroup. But deep down, he knew. There would be no regrouping. There would be no recovery from this. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. They had proven, beyond any doubt, that they were the true apex predators. As his fleet began to pull back, broken and defeated, the alien leader glanced one last time at the planet below, now glowing with the fires of battle. He shuddered. They had come seeking dominance, but they had found only their own destruction. And the humans, relentless, cunning, ruthless, had shown the galaxy that they were not to be trifled with. In that moment, the alien leader understood one final, terrible truth: humanity would be feared, not for their weapons or technology, but for what they were capable of when pushed to the brink.